Hi folks, welcome to the A Minute to Midnight Show. This is Tony coming to you from New Zealand, and with me on the show today I have Fred and Gary, who I've had on the show quite a few times, not for a little while, but it's always interesting when I think the three of us come on, and we had another Gary with us last time or the time before as well. So this is Gary H. and Fred, the ET prepper. So welcome, guys.
Thanks, Tony.
Hi, Tony.
So, hi, Gary. How's things at your end?
Well, it's winter, suddenly winter here in Montana. And we've got some snow, but it's going to melt off, I think, in a couple of days. And we got to do a little traveling. So I'm hoping it's some decent roads. But, yeah.
And
maybe
Fred,
we'll get some fall.
It's fall, but it's like winter. It's like here it's been quite summery. It's like we went from cold weather pretty quickly into much hotter weather without sort of that much in between, but it has been a little bit up and down. So Fred, what about you? How are you?
Well, we're here in Tennessee. We're in Middle Tennessee, and the weather's been just gorgeous up until the last few days, and then we got into a little bit of a cold snap. But in Tennessee, you get about 20 in the wintertime. You get about 20 at night, and then like 35, 40 in the day. So if you get snow, it usually melts off. You might get a couple days of that where snow sticks, but not long. It's the ice storms that are kind of rough down here. But so far, the weather, no complaints. Because I moved from Illinois, so I'm used to the real nasty cold and snow and ice and stuff like that, and I'm spoiled down here, so I kind of like the atmosphere here.
Yeah, and, well, I guess it's a bit colder than what we would normally get here. Where I am in winter, we kind of get the odd day maybe where there's a little bit of snow, but again, it doesn't usually hang around. But if we get below 30 degrees at night in the winter, then it's kind of like, okay, that's a real cold night.
Oh, wow.
But, well, it does happen, but, it's the exceptions rather than the rule. So, yeah, a lot happening in the world. And, and perhaps, Fred, I know you were keen on talking about a bit to do with the economy and what's going on.
Yeah, I kind of want to touch on that. I kind of like to actually touch on the elections a little bit of what's going on there, and it's very disheartening to see what's happening. We just had a lottery. You probably heard of it, Tony. The $2 billion lottery. It went up to $2 billion. Well, they said about 300 million tickets were sold in the last few days, and they knew exactly where the tickets were, and they knew where they were sold, when they were sold, all the data about that. And that's pretty cool. And here we had this real high-profile election, and we're still counting votes. We still can't figure it out. And we still, I can keep going, but it's very, very frustrating to see the corruption that we have in the elections, and they don't want to change it. They don't want to get into a system like the lottery where it's very efficient and they know where everything is in a moment. And here they just want to drag it out. They want to be able to manipulate things. I don't know who they is, but it's maddening to see this, and upsetting and all sorts of things. And so anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. What are your thoughts, Gary, with what's going on? Because I live in a very red state, and pretty much it went my way, the way my thinking goes. And so I'm happy with that, but I'm not happy with the way the whole country is moving. Part of it is actual legitimately moving in a very wicked, I'll just say it, wicked way, and so that's that. I don't appreciate that, if you want to put it that way. But what about you, Gary? What in your neck of the woods, what's happening there?
Well, I think here in Montana, I think a lot of people expected it to go a lot more conservative than it did. Kind of like what you talked about, I think, in one of your videos, maybe. Of course, it's disappointing, but I don't take a lot of stock in elections these days.
Exactly.
I really, number one, I mean, we know that politics isn't the answer. It'd be nice if things went a little more in the conservative way, more, I don't know, biblical, maybe you might even say. It'd be nice if that happened, but I don't look for that to happen in the world anymore. I know that that's not the answer, and so that's how I look at it. I vote, do the best I can, vote the best I can figure out, but I don't know how much difference that really makes anymore. That's where I'm at on that.
Yeah, we're passing through. I mean, we're just we're on a journey through this world, and we're passing through. And thank God we are not of it, because it would be very, very challenging, depressing, and all that sort of stuff. And it's I guess it's disheartening because this is where we grew up. We grew up in this world, and it was a certain way, and now it's like totally different. And it was being held together by baling wire and whatever, duct tape. Well, now that stuff's getting ripped apart very quickly. And with the all the politics and all that, and they're pulling levers that they shouldn't be pulling and pushing where they shouldn't be pushing and stuff. And that's where I want to go and talk about the economy. And we are addicted to debt. Debt is we are in a debt system, right? I mean, we go and borrow money for a house, and they create debt with that. Dollars are created, and then we pay interest on that, and then the system, it just grows and grows and grows. It's a debt-based system, and now it's coming to a close. Actually, things are really because of corruption. I think mainly stuff going on behind the scenes, all the derivatives and all this, that, and the other thing that's kind of making it much, much more volatile. And I've made several videos on my channel, E.T. Prepper, about the worst stock market crash in history. We are in it. And I still am holding my ground, even though we went up 1,200 points the other day. That just kind of makes a point. It's going up radically, and it's going to go down radically. Yeah. And if I look at the futures, today hang on a second, let me get to the data here. But today we went up 56 points. We closed 56 points up. And then now the futures are only showing minus 46. So it's kind of calm, but thank God for that, because so the information I got was we were supposed to be in a real massive crash about 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. And I'm glad we're not there, but everything is lined up to make this come down. And then that's where the elite wants it to go, for the Great Reset. And my concern is, at this point in time, it's changing my view on things. As a prepper, I'm like, okay, we all have to get ready for the rainy day, whatever that. Well, the rainy day, the clouds are coming. It's not even just a rainy day; it's like a hurricane or a tornado or something. There's big stuff coming. And so it's like, how can we urge people to prepare for this? And right now, the on the top of the list for me is I had a 401k and through work, and so I just changed that 401k into like a cash situation. I earn a whopping 2%, but I don't lose anything. And for the first part of the year, it's down like 27%. And I don't have that much where I could choose. Almost everything was down by double digits. And so I went off into the cash, and then we'll see what happens down the road. And then I'll take that cash and possibly reinvest it on pennies on the dollar, and then I'll do okay. I just heard the May 2023 is when the bottom, actually that's crypto. The bottom of the crypto is May 2023. But I've followed a bunch of people that are way smarter than me, and then I've followed them right in the hole. And so, the best bet is yourself. And once you have that, and then you can throw money in a hole and it won't matter, then that's okay, and you can try to make things happen. But I think that's where I'm at right now is, get out of the stock market, get out of things, get cash, get ready financially for the big crash that is, it's imminent. Imminent. I don't know, maybe February. I don't know. It was supposed to be in October, but now here we are in November. And so still get ready. Just because it didn't happen like on the money doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to be saying, get cash, but, they're heading for a digital cashless society, and then your cash could become worthless as well. I'm sure that there's going to be people saying that. And I mean, watching gold and silver, I mean, that's never going to be worthless. You may not be able to legally buy and trade in it, at some point, but it's always going to hold its value. But even that is so manipulated, you never really know where it's going. Gold and silver used to go the opposite direction from the stock market. Now it follows it, the prices. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, food is always a good thing to have.
Yep. Yeah, that's another thing is after this dust settles for this crash, that's where you take your cash and either buy something that's appreciating, that could appreciate well. But if you don't have food and you don't have preps, well, that's what you should buy. You should buy items. And it could get so bad that maybe that cash would be better spent with buying cans of, I go to the store and my wife hates it when I go to the store because she'll say, go get 2 cans of chili. And, I come home with 2 cases of chili. I just always, get extra. I get. Yeah. So anyway, but I just do that. And it's nice to have that. And I'm not doing it out of fear. I'm doing it out of preparation, if that makes sense. And down the road, I have a sense of confidence. If something happens, it's like, okay, now I can think about it and I don't have to be afraid of what's going on. I just make whatever decision that needs to be made, and then it's made, and then we move on. But like you were saying, Tony, with the digital currencies, they're coming down the pipe, and they're coming down the pipe pretty quick. But I think it's going to take a transition time where they'll buy you out of cash. Don't know how that'll work, or even crypto, and because they cannot. The crypto is doomed. I was in crypto for a while, and really not, and I don't feel negative towards it. You know what I mean? I don't have a chip on my shoulder about it. I think it's kind of cool, and I like the idea of it, but the governments cannot have it. They can't have something that they can't control and that's outside of them. That's The
bottom line though is crypto has still got nothing underneath it. It's a nothing. Say gold and silver, you've got something tangible as long as it's physical. That's always been there, but say Bitcoin doesn't really even exist in a sense. And it can go to zero, and look how quickly it's gone from hero to potentially zero. What are your thoughts, Gary?
I think that crypto was always, it was designed from the very beginning to eventually be controlled.
Yeah.
Even though everybody thought, well, this is independent from government, and we finally have our freedom with money here. But I think it was always designed to be controlled eventually. This FTX thing, crazy thing that happened, and I couldn't even begin to try to explain it. The meme I sent you does the best job that I've seen. But I think that was a setup to. I think that guy was set up to fall, and that and that's just part of crypto going down. So I really think that the governments all along knew that they were going to have control of it eventually, and that's what's going to happen. Yeah, and like you say, there really isn't anything there. It's just another. I don't know if you can call it a fiat currency, but something like that.
All currency is based on trust. The dollar bill that we have in our hand that we're waving around, it's a piece of paper, but there's trust behind it. If there's no trust, then the dollar is worthless. And like the petrodollar, and if you look, the other countries are not trusting us anymore, and they're going to turn away from the dollar, and we cannot ship our inflation overseas. I mean, it's not fair to other countries what we're doing to them. We just print more dollars, and hey, we're living large, and at their expense, and so it's the whole system is just messed up. But anyway, it's based on trust. The crypto is you trust that it's going to work, and you trust that that little wallet you got in your pocket or at home or whatever isn't going to have a catastrophic failure. Like, how some chips go bad. Oh, well, there went your, $100,000 of crypto because one chip went bad. To me, that's a huge risk. But you keep it on these, like a place like FTX, and it's gone. And then now we're seeing how they're taking the money from FTX and they send it to the Democratic Party. The Democrats send our aid to Ukraine. Ukraine buys FTX or pumps money into there. It's like, oh boy, this is a mess. And
yeah.
I think the government has to end crypto as the wild, wild west is going to be over with. And then they'll take over with their digital currencies, and it could have been a beta test too. Maybe this whole crypto thing was started as a beta test. I don't know, and now they work the bugs out, and now they know how they're going to make it, controllable. And actually, speaking of being controlled, my birthday is tomorrow, and my Social Security starts tomorrow. It's like, wow, this is crazy. I've chosen to. I looked at all the different scenarios, and I've chosen to leave I'm not going to leave the workforce. I'm just going to collect Social Security while it's still there. I paid in substantially to it for years. They said more than 45 years, and so. It's like, well, I might as well collect while I can. And I'm preparing for this. I'm ready for this. Is when they tell me I need to do something like get something in my arm, or I need to not, I drove too many miles this week and I can't buy gas anymore. And so they limit my purchases, or they just shut me off or whatever. And we all have to be ready for that, because one day, I'm grateful that I'm able to do this, and hopefully maybe I'll take a vacation finally after about 9 years. And but with this happening, it's like, how long will it last? How long will the quote retirement last, and people will have to either they'll get cut off just because the real money isn't there anymore, and now it's another country is managing the plan, and they aren't going to manage it at all. So once again, we have to provide for ourselves. So that's I keep going on, and the economy, and my economy is changing rapidly this week. So and I just hope you guys can understand that people listening that everything we do, we kind of need to prepare for the next situation that might occur. And I just kind of threw out a situation that if I don't do what Uncle Sam wants me to do, then they may cut me off, because it's all digital now. It isn't, they write me a check and I cash it and I have cash. Not anymore. It'll be direct deposit, and it'll be a card or my phone, or however they want to implement it. And that's fine. I'll do that. I'll until they cut me off, and then I walk away. And I'm prepared to do that mentally. Not that I'll want to. That's going to be terrible, walking away from my income or a portion of it. But hopefully things work out, and then everything's prepared good enough and smooth sailing. So that's the hope. But if not, that's life, because that's only in this world, and we're only here for a time.
Right.
So you got any thoughts on it all there, Gary?
Yeah. So you were mentioning, is basically as long as you conform to what the government wants or whatever, you'll be able to keep it. And I think that's where we're coming to is, if you are not thinking, if you're not speaking right, or associating with the right folks, or thinking right really is what they want eventually, then you'll be cut off from whatever Social Security or access to cryptocurrency, or whatever the money system is of the time. So eventually, because of what we say here today, we may end up cut off. I mean, it's very possible. And so that's why that is a good reason to prepare. And, and know that none of this stuff is our answer, is gonna get us by. It's really gonna be preparation, and God using that preparation, and other folks that we can depend on each other.
Yeah, totally going to have to do that. Trusting God first and foremost, and we can't be islands. We're going to have to be in some sort of community and things for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just want to go off a little bit on a slightly off direction, but it does associate with us really. And because the elite are sending us in a plan, they have a direction that they want this to go, as you guys have alluded to. It's not happening by accident. And then, well, there was an article written by Brandon Smith, who I know, Gary, you really like, and on altmarket.us. I just want to actually read some of it, because I think there's some really good points made in it. You'll notice that they're often trying to say that conservatives are ultra right-wing fascists and so on and so forth. But really, and then you've got the leftists, but it's all socialism either way. And I don't really think it matters in the end whether you call the world government, communism or fascism or whatever. It's all going to be the same. You're going to have an elite behind it, and you can call it what you like. But this article by Brandon Smith says the WEF, or that's World Economic Forum, stakeholder capitalism is just global fascism by another name. I'm not going to read the whole article, but there's quite a bit of it I do want to read, just cherry picking from it. So Brandon says this: Mussolini was a long-time socialist, a member of the party who greatly admired Karl Marx. He deviated from the socialists over their desire to remain neutral during World War I, and went on to champion a combination of socialism and nationalism, what we now know as fascism. Adolf Hitler was also a socialist. and admirer of Karl Marx, much like Mussolini. It is actually hard to find where Marx, the communists, and the fascists actually differ from each other. A deeper sense of nationalism seems to be one of the few points of contention. The natural progression of every form of Marxism, communism, socialism, fascism, etc., all ultimately leads to a kind of globalist ideology and erasure of cultural separation. The methods might differ slightly, but the end result is the same. And here's a little bit of a quote. This is Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum, and he states, "The most important characteristic of the stakeholder model today is that the stakes of our system are now more clearly global. Economies, societies, and the environment are more closely linked to each other now more than 50 years ago. The model we present here is therefore fundamentally global in nature, and the two primary stakeholders are as well." So you get these elite at this point. You can see they are saying, "Hey, we've got the answers. You need to trust us. We're calling the shots." So back to the article. Stakeholder capitalism is also an incredibly arrogant premise because it assumes that corporate leaders have the wisdom or objective intelligence to expand their role beyond business and into social and political spheres. What are some of the examples of this kind of corporate political governance, fascism in action? How about big tech, social media censorship leaning heavily against conservatives and liberty activists? How about evidence of collusion between big tech companies and government, such as the Biden administration and the DHS working closely with Twitter and Facebook to actively remove voices and viewpoints they don't like? How about corporate leaders colluding to destroy conservative-based social media competitors like Parler? How about ESG loans funded by corporate backers such as BlackRock or globalist non-profits like the Rockefeller Foundation? If all corporate lenders applied ESG to their loan practices, all individuals and businesses would have to adopt leftist social ideologies and dubious environmental claims in order to have access to credit. ESG is a monetary incentive created by corporate elites to keep all other businesses in line. If it continues, ESG could wipe out political opposition to globalism in the space of a single generation. And what about the Council for Inclusive Capitalism? And this is Lynn Forrester de Rothschild's baby. She's one of the big pushers of the Council for Inclusive Capitalism, so she's a Rothschild. This is the most blatant expression of open global fascism I've ever seen, says Brandon Smith, with money, elites and politicians working in concert with the UN and even religious leaders like Pope Francis. Their goal is to institute a single centralized world governing platform built around the same agendas outlined in ESG and SHC, making corporations members of a new global council, which they refer to as the Guardians. They aren't even trying to hide the conspiracy anymore. It's right out in the open. So you guys were talking about if you don't toe the line and follow the system, how you'll be cut off. Bam, there you go. That's how they're doing it. Gary.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. You're going to have to send us that article because that sounds like a good one. I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, there's more in the article than that, but yeah, it is a good one.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say is they want us to think like they do and to act like they do, and the ESG system is, well, that's with corporations, right?
Yeah.
But it's the social credit score is like ESG for us folks, and that's the whole thing is designed to for complete control, basically. I don't know what else to say.
They're wanting to control the food. They wanting to control how it's grown. They wanting to control the livestock, because anything that breathes now seems to be something you need to get rid of almost, because it's sending carbon into the atmosphere, and heaven forbid it creates climate change and global warming and all this other stuff that they're pushing as an excuse for all of this. But really, like, farmers are going out of business and whatnot. So, yeah, preparation, I suppose, as you mentioned, Fred, is a big part of what we need to be doing. But the outlook isn't really great.
No, the outlook is very depressing if you look at all the factors that are going on. I used to kind of look at the macro perspective, like the waves of things or cycles of things. And 2020 was supposed to be a thing where all the mega cycles, the 500-year cycles, and these were all bad cycles, we're all going to converge. 2020 was it. Well, it looks like everything got kind of pushed off, and it might be 2023 where all these things converge. But it's I feel bad for my kids because they, it's like they have to listen to me talk about this stuff all the time. but no, they have to live in this stuff. They know it's happening because, they're my kids. So I've talked about things and stuff and encourage them to get ready and prepare for stuff. Not to be a fear monger, like people, oh, you're a fear monger. No, just look around. I mean, it's scary out there. And so, it's just common sense. And back to the Bible, it talks about the ant. The ant spends, all summer preparing for what? Winter. Well, we're kind of in we're heading to, if you want to look at this this world, it's not just this country, but this whole world. We're heading into a season of winter. Have you guys read or heard of the book called The Fourth Turning?
I have heard of it, but I have not read it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I went through it. I got the audio version, and so as I was going on one of my long drives, I burned through that whole book. Fascinating. The guy wrote it in '97, or a couple of guys wrote it in '97, and they are nailing it. And I don't believe they have the gift of prophecy. They just have the gift of common sense, that they're looking at things in a practical sense. And when these cyclical things happen, everything runs on a cycle, and so they're happening. And they were talking about, the 2010s and 2020s, when things, when this fourth turning, as they call it, completes, and it has to complete with a big crisis. And the guy was saying that this particular time is going to be a bigger crisis than ever. And it's just like, yeah, it's biblical. Here we are in some serious biblical things are happening. I mean, you could say now, one guy that I listened to, or actually listened to his audiobook, he talked about the he's not sure if COVID was the first horse out of the gate. The horses, the four horsemen, and I'm pretty convinced that that's, we've seen the first horse ride. What do you guys think about that?
Yep, I do. I agree.
I'm not 100% sure that it is the first horse, but if it isn't, it was a very large pony or something. I don't know. It's very close.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is there's enough content in this guy's book that I won't bring it up right now, because it's pretty his outlook is terribly bleak. And then when the Antichrist comes and how that system is going to get ushered in is pretty amazing. But we're talking about here and now in the next short period of time, year or two or whatever, and to prepare for that, and not because he's thinking, we got 30 years left, or maybe before the Antichrist shows up and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting. And not the guy about the fourth turning, but this is another book. I
can't see us getting another 30 years before the Antichrist rises. I think it's coming pretty soon. Gary, what are your thoughts then on the, because there's going to be obviously a backlash against some of these policies and different things. And I know you are sort of watching for how this Great Awakening crowd are taking things.
Yeah, well, looking at all this, at all these things, the economy and the just the global kind of control that's coming, and how there seems to be a big backlash against a lot of these things, and it's worldwide. There are people, there's lots of protests and all this stuff happening. People are resisting all of this, and a lot of people are looking at this as a great awakening, because there's, in the last 2 years, tons of people that were just kind of minding their own business and had no clue what was really going on suddenly know that there is such a thing as a new world order, or at least that there's somebody trying to control them that they didn't realize was happening before, and that it's kind of a global thing. And a lot of people are waking up to a lot of that stuff, the evil, with the pedophilia and child trafficking and all this. And, it's being called by a lot of people an awakening or the Great Awakening. And then there's kind of several different aspects to this, but one of the things is in the conservative movement, there are lots of conferences going on where people are talking about this, and they're having lots of speakers bringing out all the different things about, and I don't know if I can say the word of the virus, the name of the virus, but I guess you're not on YouTube anymore, so right?
Yeah, no, it's still, yeah.
Okay.
There's the CV and the and its response.
We do have to be careful anyway with that. Yeah, so a lot of these conferences, they're having doctors speak who are, bringing out real scientific facts, and people are really awakening to a lot of this stuff. And this is the thing that I've noticed, and other people have noticed, is a large majority, for instance, of the speakers at these big gatherings, and I think it's Reawaken America tour. That's one of them that's going around. It's a big deal, and they invite a lot of pastors. They give special discounts to pastors, So it's usually has a big Christian component, but a large majority of these doctors, it doesn't take that long to discover that they have a new age flavor to them. And so eventually that comes out, in their speaking. And so people are being influenced by this stuff. And then General Flynn is one of the speakers quite often at these conferences. He has a big new age flavor to him. There was one place where I think it was one of these conferences, or maybe it was even at a church. It was actually at a church conference kind of a deal, and where he actually he gave the opening prayer, and it was basically a word for word prayer from New Age Elizabeth Clare Prophet. So anyway, a lot of this stuff is coming in as an influence in this, where people are getting this great awakening. So it seems to be not just awakening to the New World Order and the tyranny and all this going on, but there's this a spiritual awakening that seems to be part of this deal, and it's usually not real Christianity. So I think it's dangerous, So it's kind of like, well, I don't want to go too long here, but it's it's kind of like the world, and including the church, is given two options, and it's either the Great Reset, Klaus Schwab and the WEF, the World Economic Forum. You can either choose the Great Reset, or if you don't choose that, then your other choice that is being almost forced upon you is this Great Awakening, which is not leading towards God. It's not the kingdom of God. You know what I'm saying? It is this Great Awakening thing, which turns out to be a New Age answer to the Great Reset. And so, to me, it's and I'll try to finish with this, but it's the Hegelian dialectic, of problem, reaction, solution. So, and this, to me, if what I'm saying is true, this could be the biggest false flag, the biggest Hegelian dialectic ever. I mean, you thought the CV and the answer to the CV was a big Hegelian dialectic, or false flag kind of a thing. Well, this one would be the biggest one, and that is you reject what if the New World Order and all of that, which we look at, people are finding out this is evil, what if that was set up to at least appear as though it's falling, appear as though it's going to fall, and so because people people clamor for the solution, so you got the problem, the New World Order, all that evil that people are finally waking up to, and so the reaction is, somebody has to do something about this. We need to get the bums out, and we need to, change this, and the answer is the solution is what they really want to give you, which is the Great Awakening, which is in the Luciferian kingdom. So we think of the New World Order as being the bad guy, when the solution they're bringing in to get rid of the New World Order will be the real bad guy. And it may look like a kingdom of light. It may look very good to a lot of people. It will. This stuff here that's happening now will make that look very good to a lot of people, including, I'm afraid, a lot of Christians and conservatives and patriots. And that's what I want to warn about, is people, whatever that solution is to this New World Order business, and this whole thing that we've been talking about, whatever that solution is that is going to be offered, you got to be real careful about that. Because it's their solution, and it's not going to be the kingdom of God. So that's all.
And the interesting thing is, I think this goes right down to Alice Bailey's writings. I mean, she pretty much outlined this type of scenario in her books, and she's the mother of the New Age movement. And she was the one that laid out the steps for a New World Order, and she called it that. But it wasn't the sort of New World Order largely that we're seeing. It's more like what you're talking about, the Great Awakening type of New World Order. So I have a real feeling that there are people at the top controlling both sides of this, the Great Reset and the Great Awakening, and it's the same people heading for the same goal. Now, perhaps they have alternatives, because they don't necessarily know exactly how it's going to play out. So they keep both sides under control to get it to where they want it to be ultimately. But then they're also subject to Lucifer, and Lucifer Satan will have his plan of how he wants, but even then he can only bring it in a time frame in a way that God allows, because ultimately God is bigger than any of these people and bigger than Lucifer or Satan himself. So he's still subject to God's timing. When God, the Bible lays out how it's going to end and how it's basically going to play out. We don't know exactly the timing, and so on. But I think that's where it's going. So, well, I guess that's probably. I'll let Fred. Maybe you have a final thoughts on it, and then we'll look to close up.
Yeah, I guess really you gotta bring things back to the Bible. If you're a Christian, you gotta put it through the filter of the Bible. Is this getting you closer to God, or is it getting you farther from God? And sometimes farther from God is just a little nudge, not any big deal. And it's just one nudge after another, and all of a sudden you cool off and you're far away from God. But the amazing thing is he's always right there behind you with the arms wide open. So he's always there waiting for you. But the trick is not to fall for these all these, the Great Awakening or whatever, all those different distractions, and that's what Satan wants to do. He wants to have us all be distracted, be busy with one form or another, or one thing or another, and as a society, he wants us to either run down this path or that path. And I think we sometimes give Soros too much credit. It's his boss, not right. Soros himself. Yep. But so that's the thing, is just get educated in your Bible, and then understand the times and understand what some people are trying to feed you. And if you're getting fed garbage, stay away. Even though sometimes it sounds really good and really enticing, if it's not biblical, if it's not right, stay away, because it's just going to lead you down the wrong path or get you messed up one way or another.
Very true. Okay, guys. Well, thank you for a very interesting discussion, Gary and Fred. And so people, you can find Fred, his channel is E.T. Prepper. And Gary, you don't have a channel or anything, but you still have a website, I take it?
I do. I have a website basically for the book that I co-authored. Yeah, the-revealing.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks for everything you do.
And folks, as we mentioned, the control, well, I woke up this morning and found that YouTube has taken down, banned, given A Minute to Midnight a strike over the Stan Deo video, the previous video. So I can't post on YouTube for a week again. Only just came out of the 3 months 2 strike warning and back in it again. So make sure you subscribe to us on our other formats, and particularly our website, aminutetomidnight.com, but we also have channels on Rumble and BitChute and an Apple Podcasts audio channel as well. And A Minute to Midnight is run 100% by donations. It's always greatly appreciated when people donate to help us keep this running. So you can do that at aminutetomidnight.com if you want to help us. And the music used is written, played and recorded by me. You can download some free music of mine at aminutetomidnight.com also. So that's it. God willing, we'll be back with another episode in a few days' time.